Forget foreign cyber attacks. The real integrity crisis we should be worried about is already here, deep inside American networks.
Mhm.
Our remote job market is, well, it's being systematically stolen by sophisticated fraudsters and, yes, hostile foreign adversaries.
Right.
They're using fake identities to exploit these really weak corporate controls and, maybe most incredibly, to fund actual weapons programs. It's just an unprecedented assault on merit-based hiring.
It truly is. I mean, we are witnessing this really dangerous convergence of cutting-edge tech, specifically generative AI, and highly organized state-sponsored crime.
And it's hitting U.S. companies directly.
Directly. It impacts their bottom line, and it really damages their security posture.
Okay, so let's unpack that. It's a huge claim. We've pulled together government advisories, specific DOJ indictments, some really deep academic research on this. It's a huge stack of sources. So what are the two core threats we're dissecting today?
We're looking at two separate but, related streams of fraud. First is just the sheer volume of deep take job applications that are now, well, they're overwhelming U.S. hiring systems.
So AI-generated fakes.
Exactly. Large language models are so advanced now they can just manufacture entirely convincing but totally synthetic career histories.
And the second threat.
The second, and this is really the national security nightmare, is this massive organized scheme. We're talking thousands of highly skilled North Korean IT workers fraudulently accessing U.S. company networks.
And doing what?
Stealing sensitive data and then funneling hundreds of millions of dollars directly back to Pyongyang's prohibited weapons programs.
So our mission in this deep dive is to take these sources and show you exactly what the DOJ, the FBI, and, industry leaders are all reporting about this multi-layered assault on the very idea of merit-based hiring and on national economic security. Let's start with that first layer then. The technology crisis, this erosion of meritocracy, is just disturbingly easy now to fake an entire career path.
Yeah, these LLMs, large language models, they've made synthetic data so realistic that they are just flooding the hiring pipelines of major corporations.
And the old ways of catching fakes don't work anymore.
No. Academic research confirms that the conventional detection methods, those text-based screeners companies relied on for years, they perform extremely poorly against these highly structured LLM-generated resumes.
Why is that?
The systems just lose what are called linguistic artifacts. The subtle quirks of human writing that older detectors used to be able to flag, they're just gone.
And this isn't just a theoretical problem. I mean, the scale of this is real. We heard from one talent acquisition leader who saw, and this is a stunning number, 88% of over 900 applications for a senior AI engineer job flagged as fake.
88%. It's epic fraud. That number should terrify any hiring manager listening right now.
Then it's getting worse.
Oh, it's projected to grow exponentially. Gartner projects that by 2028, so just a few years from now, a staggering 1 in 4 job candidates will be fake. Just think about the cost. I mean, it's a catastrophic drain on resources.
Mm-hmm.
It dramatically increases hiring costs, and it slows down legitimate business because recruiters are just spending all their time sifting through garbage.
It poisons the whole talent pool.
Completely.
So if you can't trust the words on the screen, if linguistic detection is failing, how do you verify merit? What's the solution?
The answer is really in shifting the verification. You have to move away from analyzing the text itself and toward analyzing the underlying data structure. We need what are called structure-aware systems.
Structure-aware, so they don't just read the resume, they look at the flow of the career.
Precisely. They analyze the career trajectory, the sequence of events, job title transitions, the duration patterns of employment, the sequence of companies.
And a real human career has a certain logic to it.
It tends to follow a semantically coherent path. You see promotions, lateral moves, or at least clear reasons for a big career pivot.
And what does a fake trajectory look like, then, through that kind of structural lens?
It often shows really unnatural patterns. Like, imagine a resume that jumps from software engineer to cashier, and then boom, right back to engineering manager.
Right. That's a huge red flag.
A huge semantic break. Or, and this is critical, they often show artificial timing regularities, like a synthetic candidate where every single job lasted exactly 12 months.
There's a day.
Exactly. When you graph that data, those structural inconsistencies just pop out. They're immediate red flags, even when the text itself was perfectly worded by an AI.
Okay, so this technological crisis is hitting just as a pretty significant legal shift, is raising the pressure on companies to ensure verifiable, objective, merit-based hiring.
Yes, this is where the legal system comes in.
The DOJ has been targeting giants like Google and Verizon,
Right.
right? Both are major federal contractors, and they're using the False Claims Act.
Which is a major development.
Yeah.
Historically, the False Claims Act was used for things like defense contracting fraud or, Medicare schemes that lets the government seek triple damages plus heavy fines.
So how does that apply to just, corporate hiring?
Well, as federal contractors, these companies have to certify to the government that they're following federal employment standards, and that includes requirements for merit-based hiring.
Okay.
The legal theory officials are pursuing is this. If a company certifies they are hiring based purely on merit, but, say, their internal goals suggest they are operating with conflicting priorities, they may have technically submitted false claims for payment.
So you're saying if you tell the government you are merit-driven, you had better be provably merit-driven, or you could face staggering liability.
That is the clear takeaway. This move by the DOJ sends this unmistakable message to every federal contractor. Verifiable compliance with merit-based hiring standards is now a legal necessity,
Yeah.
not just a suggestion.
Which brings us to the most dangerous part of this deep dive, the national security hijack. It's no longer just individual scammers. We are talking about a hostile foreign state actively funding its nuclear and missile programs by systematically stealing U.S. jobs and data.
And we are talking specifically about the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Right, North Korea.
This is state-sponsored theft on a scale that I think few people really grasp. The DPRK dispatches thousands of highly skilled IT workers all over the globe.
And their job is just to make money for the regime?
Their entire explicit mission is to generate hard currency revenue for the regime's weapons of mass destruction, WMD, and ballistic missile programs. It's a direct violation of U.S. and UN sanctions.
And these are not low-skilled jobs they're going after.
Absolutely not. They're expert developers. An individual DPRK IT worker can earn over $300,000 a year. A team can pull in more than $3 million annually.
But they don't get to keep that money.
And here's the gravity of it. The North Korean government mandates that they withhold up to 90% of those wages.
90%.
So for a worker earning $300,000, that means $270,000 is funneled directly back to the regime's military. American corporate payrolls are unintentionally financing North Korea's WMD program.
Okay, so walk us through their playbook. How do they actually get through the identity checks and the hiring defenses?
They really exploit the anonymity that comes with remote work. They'll pose as U.S.-based nationals, or sometimes as South Korean, Chinese, Eastern European, and they rely heavily on really sophisticated aliases and forged documents.
Forged passports, social security cards?
All of it. Passports, social security cards, driver's licenses, often purchased from illicit services, and they're targeting jobs in really complex fields. Mobile apps, AI development, VR programming, advanced database management.
And once they're inside a company's network, the risk shifts, right? It's not just payroll fraud anymore, it's espionage.
That is the critical pivot. They use that privileged access, which they got under false pretenses, to enable malicious cyber intrusions. This can be anything from data extortion to the direct theft of sensitive proprietary data.
Can you give us a concrete example of the damage here, especially on the national security side?
The DOJ laid out some really compelling evidence. In one key case, they detailed a scheme involving a California-based defense contractor.
A defense contractor?
Yes, an overseas co-conspirator working under a fraudulent identity, got remote access, and was able to steal international traffic and arms regulations data, ITAR data.
And for anyone listening, ITAR data that's export-controlled U.S. military technology.
They are stealing our defense secrets. And in a separate financial case, North Korean workers used false identities to steal virtual currency valued at around $740,000 from a blockchain company in Georgia. The theft is systemic and it's high value.
What's really fascinating about this particular threat is the domestic infrastructure it requires.
Yes. This sophisticated, hostile foreign crime relies heavily on U.S. citizens. They act as what the FBI calls facilitators.
And they set up these laptop farms. It sounds like something from a spy novel. What is that?
It's surprisingly simple, but it's highly effective at deception. These are physical locations, often just private homes, across at least 16 states.
So in someone's house.
Exactly. The U.S. facilitator receives the company's laptop. They install remote desktop software like AnyDesk, and then they often use this specialized hardware.
What's the specialized hardware for?
It's called a KVM switch. It's the key piece of the puzzle to trick corporate security.
KVM, keyboard, video, mouse.
You got it. And this device lets the facilitator in the US swap control between multiple laptops using just one set of peripherals. Crucially, it makes the system believe that the remote worker who is actually overseas in China or Russia is physically connecting the mouse and keyboard from that legitimate US residential address.
So it completely bypasses basic geographic security controls.
Entirely.
And what's in it for these U.S. citizens? What's the incentive for basically enabling state-sponsored theft?
They get paid handsomely. These facilitators receive significant monthly payments. The DOJ found one individual was paid over $89,000 for just hosting these devices and routing the traffic.
And that's $89,000 that could have gone to a real, verifiable American employee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just paints this picture of systemic crime that's supported by domestic opportunism.
And that kind of systemic manipulation, using these complex schemes to get around U.S. law, it isn't just limited to state-sponsored actors, is it?
Not at all. We see a similar betrayal in the exploitation of our specialized labor and immigration systems.
You're talking about H-1B visas.
Specifically, look at the case of CloudGen LLC, a Houston company that pleaded guilty to a long-running H-1B visa fraud conspiracy. It went on for 7 years.
They ran something called a bench and switch scheme. Can you break down how that fraud worked?
It was pure manipulation. CloudGen used forged contracts and totally fabricated job offers to secure H-1B visas for foreign workers.
So the jobs didn't exist.
Right. They weren't actually placing these workers in jobs at the time of the application. Instead, they just maintained this ready bench of visa-ready labor. They'd falsely claimed the workers had jobs at third-party companies just to make sure they kept their visa status.
And how did they profit from having this bench?
It gave them this huge, unfair competitive advantage in the staffing market. As soon as a real client needed a contractor, CloudGen had a pre-vetted, visa-ready pool of labor they could just deploy.
The switch.
The switch. They'd transfer the worker to the new employer. The firm ultimately profited nearly $500,000 from this, from just abusing a system that's meant for legitimate labor needs.
So if you connect all these threads, the state-sponsored IT theft, funding the DPRK, the domestic facilitators with their laptop farms, the H-1B visa fraud.
They all show how a lack of rigorous, verifiable integrity in this new remote economy actively betrays American law and job security. Robust compliance and really aggressive enforcement of existing laws are the only way forward.
This deep dive has shown us a pretty alarming reality. The threat to the American job market isn't just, new technology creating some friction. This is organized, sophisticated fraud. And it directly attacks the pillars of meritocracy and our national security.
And the government is finally responding to the scale of this. The DOJ's actions are pretty clear indicators of this new focus. They've seized 29 financial accounts, taken down 21 fraudulent websites.
They're recovering the laptops, too.
They recovered about 137 fraudulent laptops, and they've arrested the U.S. citizens who were acting as facilitators. These are aggressive, necessary measures to defend U.S. economic and national security.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? For the legitimate job seeker or the honest hiring manager? If highly skilled, state-sponsored adversaries can leverage deepfake careers and exploit simple remote access tricks to steal millions and compromise sensitive military data.
What confidence can any business truly have that the next resume they receive is real?
And that the next employee they hire isn't secretly working for an enemy state?
The future of work demands rigorous, verifiable integrity checks that go far beyond what we think of as standard today. Relying on paper documents or just linguistic analysis is, well, it's demonstrably insufficient.
So the critical question for businesses now
is whether they're ready to invest in the structure-aware systems needed to verify real merit and verifiable location, or risk unintentionally funding the next generation of WMDs.